Hello, viewers. I'm Vibhuti Jha. This is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Welcome to the show. And please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. We value your support. Today, I'm going to talk about somebody who has become world famous overnight, thanks to President elect Donald Trump. And I'm referring to a name called Harmeet Dhillon. Harmit Dhillon, I have known her for a while, not in person, but because she has been frequently visiting on the television channels, Fox channels with Laura Ingraham talking about civil rights and issues relating to them, in a very ardent way, very professional way. So I've known her for a while. I also know that she fought Mr. Trump's cases, including for varieties of things, and she is a Trump loyalist. So Harmit Dhillon, when Trump nominated her for a position in Justice Department on the civil rights issue as Assistant Secretary or whatever it is, it immediately drew very strong reaction from Hindu Americans and Indian Americans, not only in the US, but India as well, because a lot of people were surprised that Trump chose an absolute pro-Khalistani attorney whose Twitter comments about India and Indian government killings of Khalistanis in America and Canada, and her very strong words on Prime Minister Modi and India had drawn attention that Mr. Trump made a mistake. I looked at it from this point of view. Well, you get the complete package when you get a government. Mr. Trump chose Madam Dhillon because she's a loyalist and he wanted to reward her. Civil rights is her forte, and she has been given that position. Why are Hindu Americans worried about it? And there is a genuine concern and fear and apprehension in the Hindu Americans because Harmit Dhillon definitely takes up a Khalistani cause, and she is fighting their cases. She represents them in the court. She speaks on their behalf. Doesn't mean that she herself is a Khalistani. I do not know for sure. If you know, please do let me know. Because she is a Sikh woman, and that's what Mr. Trump's notification also said, that she is a Sikh woman. She offered ardas at the convention where Mr. Trump was declared a candidate. That's having said that. So what is important is that she is doing a lawyer's job by taking up the Khalistani case in the US legal system to fight for that. Does it make her a Khalistani? I do not know. I repeat that. But what is important here is there are a couple of things which I began to notice here. She has been given the civil rights arena. She is a civil rights responsibility. She has the civil rights responsibility for all Americans. She's not a civil rights chief or assistant secretary only for Khalistanis. So let's be very clear about that. It's yours and my civil rights in America, which is also very important. She has no business, or she doesn't have the jurisdiction to comment upon the civil rights scenario in India because they differ. All these democracies, they have their own rules, just as flag burning in America is a freedom of speech. In India, it is not. In Singapore, it's totally different. So people apply the civil rights and the freedoms and liberties and responsibilities in different ways. And that's what is important for all of us to bear in mind. The other part, that this is what is, Mr. Trump is a hands-on president. This man himself has been a victim of lawfare. You all know that. Many of the cases are being dropped, withdrawn, or filed for dismissal because they were not, prudent in law. They could not justify that. We all know that in the New York case of 34 felonies, that people are calling him a felon. It was felony only because Mr. Bragg, who is the district attorney of New York, upgraded those violations from misdemeanor to felony. And it was a committed jury that kind of voted for her. He did not have many rights that an accused can have. So that's another matter that Mr. Trump, as the president, knows about it, that he was a victim of lawfare. So to put Harmit Dhillon, who fought his cases in the law, in the courts here, different kind of cases, he has given her a responsibility to enforce the civil rights in a just manner. That Mr. Pannoon and other Khalistanis may be thinking that, oh, my attorney has been made assistant secretary of the in the legal department or the attorney's office, attorney general's office, so they have a red carpet in the White House, is misplaced. They may get additional hearing or so. But now, Madam Harmit Dhillon cannot fight their cases as their attorney because she is now the government attorney. So suddenly, the Khalistani elements and Mr. Pannoon have lost the very valuable advice of Harmit Dhillon. Privately, what they do, I do not know. But I'll be surprised that if Harmit Dhillon would dare to give a private advice to these people about what they can do or they cannot do, which I would say that in the profession of law, you are always have the advantage. But remember, that has to be viewed very seriously. The other element is also very important is, are Khalistanis violating Hindu Americans and Indian Americans' civil rights? So think about it from this point of view. If Mr. Pannoon and his cohorts issue threats about blowing up an Air India plane, if Khalistanis elements and Mr. Pannoon and his supporters are desecrating Hindu temples, if Pannu and his Khalistani supporters are threatening Hindu Americans to leave Canada or India or America and go back to their countries because what happened to Jews will happen to them with these kind of words, I think Harmit Dhillon will have a responsibility to prosecute, investigate, and do whatever it takes to protect the civil rights of all Indian Americans in America, for sure. So let's think about it. Mr. Trump, I was telling you earlier on, is a hands-on president who has suffered enormous legal torture at the hands of a Justice Department which was manipulated by Democratic Party. We do not have any evidence of that, but that's what Mr. Trump says all the time. So would he allow his Justice Department to abuse human rights of others? Think about it. If I were him, I would not. I'm putting her in place only to make sure that just as his rights were violated, nobody else's human rights are violated. Because Mr. Trump was the man who made the statement that if they can do this to a former president of America and the running candidate, they could do to you and I, the Justice Department. So Harmit Dhillon has a huge responsibility on her shoulders because she has to make sure that she doesn't do anything that will embarrass her boss. She has multi-layer levels of bosses. As Assistant Secretary, she will have multiple layers of bosses, and she cannot do things which will embarrass the perception and reality of Mr. Trump, who himself has been a victim of lawfare. So think about it. And Mr. Trump is a hands-on president. He would not want some lowly level assistant secretary. I'm not meaning lowly level that she's a lowly level person. I'm saying that some low level officer or a bureaucrat or an in charge of a department embarrasses him by being sectarian, by being discriminatory, and by being unlawful against one set of Americans vis-a-vis another set of Americans. It may be worthwhile to point out here again that Indian Americans are generally happy, and this needs to be mentioned, that with Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, people like that, with a complete, who are proud Hindu Americans, and there are a couple of other more, Kash Patel, who is FBI, likely to be FBI chief, and you have Jay Bhattacharya. Of course, name is Jay Bhattacharya, is converted to Christianity, But Jay cannot give up his Bengali Bhadralok, persona. So the point of the matter is, with so many Hindu Americans in the cabinet, likely to be in the cabinet, and there are many American administration people, like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who floated a bill, who proposed a bill to improve India-US relationship as a strategic partner, and people in other institutions of intelligence who are clearly anti-terrorist activities. We need not worry about that. Hindu Americans need not worry about Harmit Dhillon. She will have way too many more responsibilities to champion the cause of Khalistanis alone. She is not Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights for Khalistani elements in America. She is to enforce, protect, and defend the civil rights of every American, which includes you and I. So I would propose, let's not get very emotionally upset about her candidacy, because she has been rewarded as a loyalist to Mr. Trump, and she has proven her Republican credentials. She is there. Let her be. Let's watch. Let's be cautious. Let's be observant of what she's doing. Because as I said earlier, and I'll repeat, if Mr. Panun and his cohorts threaten Hindu Americans in any way, whether it's temple desecration, blowing up Air India because our travel thing are affected, or insulting us or categorizing us and categorically saying that we must leave America, otherwise what will happen to Jews in Germany will happen to you. Well, Harmit Dhillon has the ability and will have to stand up per law to protect the civil rights of all Hindus too. With these words, I wanted to say that this is a very critical appointment. Mr. Dhillon, Madam Dhillon has been rewarded. She's become world famous. But I would say only one thing: you get good, bad, and ugly, everything else. Let's hope for the best. I'm 100% sure she won't be as vicious as Donald Lu was against India, the regime change expert there. So, Harmit Dhillon, I wish you well. I wish all Indian Americans and Hindu Americans well. Be vigilant, be alert, be consciously aware, and get engaged in your community. That's how you will protect your own civil rights. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, Satyamev Jayate, truth must triumph. And for truth to triumph, you and I have to stand up and fight for it. Thank you very much for watching today.